High again over a West Coast island that DDT pollution drove them from 40 years ago. Dedicated rescuers deserve all the credit, as John Blackstone now shows us.
22 miles across the sea from Los Angeles, Catalina Island has a reputation for romance. It's also the adopted home of the American bison. But another American icon that is native to Catalina hasn't done as well: bald eagles.
By the early to mid 60s, they were all gone from Catalina and the California Channel Islands.
For 15 years, Peter Sharp of the Institute for Wildlife Studies has been working to bring bald eagles back to Catalina, a project that lately has been having some notable success.
We spend a lot of the early portion of the year scanning the coastlines for just any activity.
To get an even closer look at the island's growing eagle population, Sharp has set up remote cameras looking into the nests.
It saves us a lot of time. It gives us more information on what's actually going on at the nest.
Not only can he monitor how the adults are caring for the fast-growing chicks, he streams the whole Eagle Cam reality show live on the internet for anyone to watch.
They're seeing things that until 5-10 years ago, most people never got to see.
All the more impressive because eagles were once in so much trouble here. The natural beauty of the island and the ocean here hides something ugly. Until the 1960s, the Pacific off Southern California was a dumping ground for thousands of tons of waste contaminated with the pesticide DDT. For decades, the DDT made the birds' eggs so thin the shells would break before hatching. So Sharp's team hatched them in incubators and then hand-raised the chicks until they were strong enough to be returned to the nest with their parents.
The adults did most of the work, but we did the stressful part.
Over the last 5 years, DDT levels appear to have dropped enough that the eggs can survive in the nest. When the chicks are 8 weeks old, almost big enough to fly, Sharp climbs into the nest to tag the young birds. With only 7 breeding pairs on Catalina, every eagle is important to the recovery, and especially important to Sharp, who hand-raised some of the birds who are now raising their own young.
I guess I have a little bit more attachment to these because I'm a grandfather now.
He's also pleased that nature here no longer needs quite as much help to do what comes naturally. John Blackstone, CBS News, Catalina Island.
However, Shadow is actually Jackie's second mate, and he's younger than Jackie by a few years. Shadow is 7. We know less about him. He's sort of a mystery guy to us. Jackie is 9 years old, and we know much more about her. She was born in Big Bear Valley. At least that's what's believed.
There was a previous couple called Ricky and Lucy that were there, and they started the nest before 2012, but they had the first chick in 2012, actually in a nest that was 50 feet from this one in a dead tree. We like to think that Jackie may be that first chick that was hatched here. We have no way of knowing because they're not tagged, but there was there were only two bald eagles in Big Bear at that time during the summer.
Eagles migrate seasonally. Their range reaches as far north as Alaska. However, again, Jackie is the first known bald eagle to live in Big Bear Valley year-round. She's not the only one. She's just the first known one since eagle watchers have been keeping track. The nest where Jackie lives was built by her thought-of parents, Ricky and Lucy, that Sandy just mentioned. They built two nests. The first was blown apart in a windstorm, and Jackie's parents were forced to abandon that nest and shift to the one now claimed by Jackie. I mentioned earlier that Shadow is Jackie's second mate. Her first was Mr. B. Sounds so mysterious. And he was seen with Jackie back in 2017.
We don't know where he came from. We know that they mated that year because they did it on camera. But we don't know. We don't know why. Maybe Jackie, because she was just 5, might have been too young, but they did not have eggs. But they did the next year. And the next year they had 2 chicks that we have, the 3rd graders up here have been able to name each year. Thanks to the biologist that was at the Forest Service, she would arrange that with the school. And they named these chicks Stormy and BBB for Big Bear Baby. And we got to watch those chicks grow up on camera, and it was beautiful.
Sadly, BBB didn't survive a big storm, so it was just Jackie, Mr. B, and Stormy. But again, eagles typically mate for life, although Jackie apparently plays by her own rules. Shadow came into the scene in 2018 when Jackie and Mr. B were raising that little eaglet named Stormy.
It was late summer of that year, 2018, and then even the chick Stormy tried to chase Shadow away because he was an intruder, and Jackie tried to chase him away, and Mr. B tried to chase him away, and he would just stand there and and look at them, and if they poked at him, he'd just kind of back up and then stand back up. It was like, one of those punching dummies. and Mr. B finally gave up, and just we haven't seen him. He left the area, and so.
Oh, you could have her. Go ahead, she's all yours.
Yeah, because he just couldn't make him leave. So Shadow's very determined.
Shadow was a persistent little fellow to get his girl, but it worked. Jackie gave in to Shadow. Fast forward to March 2019, Jackie and Shadow had 2 eggs hatch, and the eaglets were named Cookie and Simba. We watched them grow a little fuzz, then they grew wispy little feathers, and eventually bigger feathers. They were so cute as they weeble-wobbled back and forth, gaining their balance. We had a front row seat to their lives, watching Jackie and Shadow constantly reinforcing their home with new sticks and twigs, protecting their hatchlings from hopping out of the nest. As Cookie and Simba got a little older, we saw them mimicking what their parents were doing, moving smaller sticks around, shuffling straw and grass from here to there. We watched their feeding times, Cookie and Simba competing for food, as is their nature, Simba always a little stronger. Then came the freak snowstorm, May 22nd, 2019. The eagle's nest filled with snow and sleet. Both eaglets had grown so much that it was difficult for Jackie to protect them both from the elements. And on May 27th, Cookie, unfortunately like BBB, couldn't handle the conditions and died.
So that was, awful for everybody to see, but at the same time, it's part of nature. And what we're all about is teaching people and educating people about the truth about nature and what's really happening there. And sometimes how difficult it is for the animals to survive just the way it is without making it harder on them.
But we continued to watch the life of Simba, like when he would do a little happy dance when he got a fish, and when he would cheese for the camera like the reality star he thought he was. But since he's fledged and really spread his wings, it's unclear where Simba is now. But he is tagged, so hopefully we can hear of his whereabouts again one day. Fast forward to the 2020 season, Jackie and Shadow had 2 eggs they were incubating in January. So of course we watched them cuddle up on the eggs, bring in even more sticks, grub on more fish, and all the usual. But unfortunately, after around 44 days of incubation, the U.S. Forest Service announced those eggs weren't viable, just like the announcement we got this season. On the evening of March 13th, Shadow was incubating the eggs. The weather was cold, windy, wet, snow falling and dripping on him from the branches above. Jackie had left the nest just after noon and did not return. Later in the evening, Shadow got up, shook off the snow and rain, and headed out on the front branch to leave. Well, he turned towards the nest and he looked at the eggs and came back to the nest and settled back down to incubate. Not long after, he got up and this time he actually flew off. For the first time this year, the eggs were left unattended through the night. It seems as if Jackie and Shadow became aware their eggs wouldn't hatch, but we're still not ready to completely give up. A couple of days later, ravens got to the unattended eggs and ate them. They seemed to be undeveloped, just like the Forest Service suggested. Jackie and Shadow both visited the nest individually the next morning. They both looked down at their broken eggs. It was a sad moment for viewers, and I'm sure it was for them as well. Later in the afternoon, Jackie came to the nest with some soft nest materials, picked up one of the empty shells, and flew away. Shadow came in right behind her, picked up the nesting material, and placed it over the other shell in the nest, and he flew away as well. They'd come by here and there and do their little eagle things, but that was the 2020 season.
Bald eagle hatched this week in Southern California, caught on camera, and there it is as the parent stands up from the nest to reveal the newborn. The bald eagle chick hatched Thursday, and its sibling in the egg next to them could hatch any day now. The new parents, that's Jackie and Shadow, are nested in a pine tree about 145 feet above the ground. They're in Big Bear Valley. Last year, the pair laid 2 eggs, but they didn't make it. That's a live picture right there. Perfect timing there, but you can see one of the
there goes.
bald eagles feathering the nest, trying to get that last one to hatch. Pretty darn cool.
That's a cool picture. I love how we can watch them without them knowing we're watching them.
Look at the view, too.
That's
Big Bear
perfect.
Lake.
Somewhere in all that snow, there's a bald eagle and 2 eggs. At this point, unseen. This is the nest up in Big Bear. We've been following on Eyewitness News, hoping to see a pair of birds hatch this year. We've sped up this video so you can see that eagle emerging from the snow where it's trying to keep those eggs warm. The parents, Jackie and Shadow, have been taking turns on nest duty. The chicks are expected any day now. And while we're talking about it, this is a live look at our Eagle Cam up in Big Bear as we continue to follow the snow throughout the day. Be sure to download our free ABC7 Los Angeles app. You can stay on top of the weather like Jackie or Shadow there. Weather conditions, get traffic alerts, and stream our newscasts all.
We have a sad update for our bald eagle friends Jackie and Shadow up in Big Bear. The experts say the 2 eggs that Jackie laid last month are not likely to hatch. It's unclear why. The eggs are nearly 2 weeks past their expected hatch date, and experts say it's possible the eggs were never fertilized or they could have stopped developing for any number of reasons.